Please welcome Executive Vice President, Oracle Database Server Technologies, Andy Mendelsohn.
Okay, clicker. Thank you. Okay. Well, it's great to be in person again at a CloudWorld, our first CloudWorld event in Vegas. So I'm glad to have you all here in person, and we're really excited to see you all. And we're going to talk about today sort of what the database group is doing at a high level in a number of areas. So I'm going to go pretty quickly through a bunch of topics. And then, of course, we have a lot of sessions where we will drill down into everything we're talking about here today. I want to start with this mission statement because this is quite a difference in where we're focused in the database organization. You know, today, pretty much everybody is, still doing stuff on premises, but they're all on some journey to the cloud, some just beginning, and some already very actively running production systems in the cloud. And so as you move to that cloud world, the focus is a little different because it's all about simplicity. And it's all about making it easy for developers and analysts to build the traditional data-driven operational and analytic apps really easily in a self-service fashion where they don't need the help of armies of engineers to sort of run the database infrastructure for them. And so that's really, we still obviously want to make sure we have the best performance and reliability and scalability and all that kind of stuff. But as we go to cloud, it's really all about simplicity and self-service. And so we have two major initiatives we're working on in development. One is more on the software side. We call it Converged database. It's our database software technology that we've been evolving for many years. And it is a very complete technology. It can run any kind of workload, any kind of data type you want to support, we support. It's not just a relational database. It's way beyond that. We support all the latest and greatest JSON data types and spatial and graph. And it's a very complete piece of technology. And traditionally people think, yeah, it's very complete, but it's really complicated. And our whole goal around, as we go to cloud, is to make it really easy for customers, notably the developers and the analysts, to sort of consume our technology. And that's all about our fully managed cloud service autonomous database. That's where we're putting a lot of energy. That service, of course, can run anywhere. It's not just in the public cloud. And so we have a lot of focus on autonomous database as well. And what is autonomous database? It's a cloud service. It's based on our Converged database software, running on an Exadata infrastructure. Exadata is our optimized infrastructure that we have been selling in box form on-prem for many years. That's all available now on the cloud for you at the push of a button. No mess, no fuss. Anybody can press that button. And we, of course, deploy things like real application clusters. We use our multi-tenant technology to create a shared service over a common infrastructure. And we have a lot of automation we have around all this stuff at all the layers, in the Exadata infrastructure tier, the database software tier, and then as we deliver this all as a service for you. The big thing here is in development, we are DevOps. We run this service ourselves. And so everything you guys are used to doing on-prem, we now have to do in the cloud. And so automation, as you know, is the job one. And so we are very much in the trenches doing what a lot of you who are in the DBA side of the space are doing in your job every day. Okay, so autonomous database is number one is a public cloud service. However, Oracle is very unique in that we make our public cloud available to run in your data centers. So we have big customers, and I'll talk about one next, where they just are so big, they can have their own public cloud region just dedicated to them. We call that a dedicated region cloud customer. All of our cloud services are available for them to use, but it's dedicated to one customer, and that can run in a customer data center. And then, of course, beyond, as a subset of that, we have what we call Exadata Cloud Customer, where it's just, a customer only wants to run the Oracle database cloud services, nothing else. And we make that available by again, rolling in Exadata infrastructure into their data center. This has been really popular with our customers because it lets them put the Exadata infrastructure right on their corporate network, right next to their application servers. So it's a really easy transition to a way to modernize their Oracle database infrastructure without really disrupting anything else in their operations side. And then, of course, we have customers doing hybrid cloud. Multi-cloud is another major space that we are now working in. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Okay, so this is an example of one of our big customers. I think somebody from Deutsche Bank was talking during Safra's keynote this morning. But what they've done is what I was talking about earlier. Exadata, they're using Exadata Cloud at Customer. They're a huge Oracle shop. They've got tens of thousands of Oracle databases. And they're deploying these Exadata Cloud infrastructures in about 20 locations around the world to sort of, as an initiative to modernize all of their database infrastructure that's running on Oracle database. And it gives them huge agility. It lets them run our fully managed autonomous database service and also our Exadata database service as well as being used by Deutsche Bank. I just talked about the wrong customer, didn't I? Anyway, the other customer that was on the previous slide, let's go back one slide. Vodafone is the one I should have been talking about. So Vodafone is another example. They have a dedicated region cloud, a customer implementation. In fact, they're building out, I think, about 6 of these dedicated regions around the world where they, again, are modernizing their Oracle database infrastructure using our cloud services. Plus, because it's a full dedicated region, they actually are also going to run some of their applications here as well in our data centers there. Okay, so let's just move ahead. Okay, so we think autonomous database is pretty great, and we love outsiders saying the same thing rather than us. You trust them more. So Gartner, of course, is the trusted industry analyst out there for the database space, and they are now analyzing not just database software. They only look at database cloud services that are fully managed, and so they are evaluating Oracle Autonomous Database against all the other popular cloud databases you know about. Amazon has Aurora and Redshift, and Azure SQL, and Google has database cloud services. And if you look at the operational use cases, like transaction processing, mixed workloads of analytical, operational analytics, et cetera, Oracle is ranked #1 in all of those use cases versus all of the popular players in the cloud space. And the competition is not even very close. And then they do a similar kind of analysis for analytical use cases, like a big data warehouse or a data lake. There, they made us #2 to our old friend Teradata, who's not very popular anymore. But again, we are in front. They rank us from a technology standpoint in front of all those popular names I mentioned, Redshift or Snowflake or BigQuery. You've heard of all those services. Well, Gartner says we're at autonomous database with our autonomous data warehouse technology is really superior to all of those as well. Okay, so with that, I'm going to talk about our Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And last May, I was right in this building at Informatica World, and we announced a very exciting partnership with Informatica. And I'm going to bring out Jitesh Ghai. Let's bring out Jitesh. Yeah, and so I didn't finish the introduction, though. So Jitesh is the Chief Product Officer at Informatica. That means he runs all the engineering. And we have been working with Jitesh since the big announcement in May.
And before.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
So first, Andy, really great to be here with you at Oracle CloudWorld and all of you here to talk about the strategic cloud partnership between Informatica and Oracle and the amazing things we're doing for the thousands of joint customers we have.
So what's so special about this partnership?
Well, what's so special? Well, let's talk about Informatica and Oracle first. We have a unique history of being the established multi-decade leaders in data and analytics. Oracle, with its advanced database technologies across multiple generations now with converged databases and the autonomous database. Informatica, through those many generations with advanced data management capabilities, and now Informatica's intelligent data management cloud, spanning capabilities like data catalog, data integration, ETL and ELT in the cloud, data quality, master data management, of course, data governance and privacy, and a data marketplace to share data. Bringing all of these advanced capabilities together is extremely exciting, and making these deep integrations between the two clouds available to all of you and the thousands more online is going to be game-changing.
It's cool. So from a customer standpoint, what are the big benefits for our customers as they sort of absorb these technologies?
It's a great question. You know, we launched, as Andy mentioned, in May at Informatica World. And in relatively short order, we're engaged with in hundreds of customer conversations, and we've had some successes already. Asiyad is an integrated logistics provider based out of Oman. And they've built a data lake leveraging Oracle's object service and the autonomous database. And they're leveraging Informatica's data catalog and data governance capabilities to ensure the data is trusted, it's governed, to enable single views, authoritative views of customers to drive better pricing efficiency, as well as optimize for inventory management. Another example out of the US is McGraw-Hill, that you all know, love, and have had textbooks from. McGraw-Hill, now a major digital publication, is actually an on-premises customer of Informatica PowerCenter, as well as of Oracle's databases. And leveraging Informatica's migration factory, we are migrating, converting through automation all of the on-premise workloads in PowerCenter, powering Oracle's database, automatically converting them to our intelligent data management cloud and to autonomous database. What would ordinarily take years of manually converting, we're just automatically doing. We're also doing this for many customers from other data warehouse appliances and data marts to autonomous data warehouse, autonomous database, and Informatica's intelligent data management cloud. So super exciting engagement so far.
Yeah, that's great. And this has only been a couple months since we announced it. So the fact we have all these customers, some closed deals and everything is very exciting. So what's next on the horizon here?
What's next? Well, you know, we're kicked off this partnership. We've got a lot of innovation that we're investing in jointly. In fairly short term, we want to reduce even more friction from your collective experience. And so we will be listing on Oracle's cloud marketplace and delivering a simplified experience for you to get access to our intelligent data management cloud services through the same marketplace as you would get access to Oracle's autonomous database capabilities, all with a unified billing experience. So super exciting development there, and of course many more innovations to come in the coming months that at least for now I'm not at the liberty to share.
Okay, this is a really exciting partnership. Both companies are so complementary in what we do, and we just work with all the same customers that I'm expecting you'll be up on the stage here next year probably telling us about more customer success stories.
I'm looking forward to it. I couldn't be more excited. If you want to find out more details, there's a QR code over on the screens that shares all the breakout sessions. And if you want to see the tech in action, join us at the Informatica booth at the Cloud Hub we've got a lot of great folks here to support all of your questions.
Okay, thank you, Jitesh.
Andy, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so we find this really exciting. We had a lot of customers on-prem using the Informatica technology, and by now having it available on our cloud, it really unblocks them from what was stopping them from coming to our cloud. So it's a really important partnership. Our cloud, is now genuinely hyperscale. A few years ago, people were like, "Oh, does Oracle really have a cloud?" Giving us snide remarks. Well, you can look at this map of the world now. We have 40 regions now around the world. You name the countries, we pretty much, all the important countries, regions of the world, we got data centers, we've got a primary data center, we've got a DR nearby in the same country. We are building more of these data centers. We're doing these dedicated regions for customers that are not in this count, like the Vodafone dedicated region clouded customer. It's a full region, but it's only for Vodafone. We didn't put that in the 40 number here. The big thing we've been working on is multi-cloud now. So all of your companies are pretty much moving from this, well, I'm putting everything on one cloud vendor, to like, well, actually, I'm not. I'm going to put some things on Amazon and some on Azure and maybe some on Oracle. And so, that brings up this whole notion of multi-cloud. And multi-cloud makes perfect sense for customers. If you look at Microsoft, for example, Oracle and customers have been using Microsoft technologies, especially for application development and analytics. Things like Microsoft.NET for application development, now Power BI for analytics, against Oracle databases running on Linux, all in their data center on-prem. So as they go to cloud, it makes perfect sense for them to want to do similar things. Why can't I put my applications on Azure and have the database on Oracle Cloud? And so what we've been working on is to make that actually possible. We call this sort of multi-cloud. And we started out with an interconnect partnership that you see here. We have 12 interconnect regions around the world where basically the Azure data center and the Oracle Cloud data center are often in the same physical building. And so the network latency between the two clouds is virtually nothing. And so building on top of that, we just recently announced an even bigger partnership with Microsoft around Azure that we're calling the Oracle Database Service for Azure. And what we are doing here, we're building on the initial idea, very low latency connections, less than 2 milliseconds between our clouds. And Microsoft also is waiving things like data egress costs, and Oracle doesn't charge much for data egress costs either. So having an application running against an Oracle database makes perfect sense. It works really well. And now what we're trying to do is not just do network integration, but what you can see in this picture, we're trying to integrate our cloud services so they almost look and feel like they're running in Azure. We are integrating with the identity management on Azure, Azure Active Directory. We're integrating with the telemetry systems, the logging, notification, event systems, et cetera. So that ultimately the idea is, anybody who's on Azure should be able to go to a console that actually looks and feels like it's running on Azure, but it's doing provisioning of the Oracle Database Cloud Services in an Azure-like way. And then it gives you a pretty much native look and feel and a user experience that the Azure customers want. So you get the full power of Autonomous Database, Exadata Database Service, all of our other, our base database cloud services that are running on OCI, but they look and feel like they're on Azure. The other thing I'll note here briefly is that we are doing this. We first did this for the Oracle Database Cloud Services. We are also going to do this for the MySQL HeatWave service, and that'll be coming out actually quite soon. Okay. Now with that, what we want to do is have some real customers who have been looking at our database service for Azure and talk to you about their feelings about this. So let's roll the video.
Marriott International operates and franchises hotels and resorts all over the world. Multi-cloud and hybrid architectures enable us to choose the best cloud provider for each workload based on the capabilities, performance, and price of the underlying cloud service provider. The Oracle and Microsoft partnership integrates the capabilities of two major cloud providers, bringing OCI's high availability Oracle database services together with Azure's capabilities.
We have over 100 million US consumers, tens of thousands of business customers, and we cover more than 99% of Americans. And we have a large-scaled application suite that runs in the Azure cloud. Many of those application suites run on Oracle databases. Oracle Database Service for Azure will help us modernize these databases using Autonomous Database and Exadata.
FedEx connects the world. We have more than 700 aircraft, 200,000 surface vehicles. We've deployed a lot of technology into both OCI and Azure. For many years, we've deployed Oracle databases as a key part of our data strategy. We've been doing a lot of analytics these days in Azure. What this allows us to do is bring the two so much closer together. We've always believed in a multi-cloud architecture that allows us to put the right data and technology in the right cloud at the right time.
Okay, so the first question I always get when I talk to customers about this is like, what about that other big cloud vendor, AWS? Well, the answer is stay tuned. You may see some developments next year in that space. Okay, so this next section of the presentation, I was going to talk about some of the stuff you guys really like about Oracle Database and some things that are sort of pain points. But as you can see, we are very popular with the global Fortune 100, the US Fortune 100 companies. 98% of them run their business on Oracle Database. And so the question is like, what is it they like about Oracle Database? Well, the ops DBA people, the engineering people like Oracle because it lets them deliver high quality of service, high performance, scalability, best availability, and high security as well. And so, this is, of course, our bread and butter of like why people love the Oracle database technology. We also are popular with analysts and data scientists. They are trying to get value out of their data. And of course, we offer rich SQL analytics. And as part of this whole Converged database initiative, we've been adding other kinds of powerful analytics also accessible via SQL, graph analytics, spatial analytics. We have machine learning built into the database for many, many years. So you can build out and deploy machine learning models as well. And then for developers, like the big benefit to Oracle is we make your lives really simple, very productive. Our Converged database technology is all accessible via industry standard open SQL APIs. Okay? So one database, all your data can be there. There's no need to have a data integration exercise where you have some of your data over here and some there and whatever, which is something some of the other vendors think is a good idea. Really bad idea. Make things simple. All your data can be integrated in one space. Portability. People have loved Oracle because we can run everywhere. You want to run an Oracle database on-prem, we can do that. We can run in the clouds. We have our cloud services as well. And then things like read consistency. This is like something people take for granted, but we came out with this like 30 years ago. Very few of the other vendors even have this today. It lets you read data as it's being updated without obtaining read locks and all that kind of cool stuff, and I won't go into that. And then one of the really cool things people like now about Oracle is our Apex tool. Apex, for those of you who don't know, is a low-code tool, no-code tool. It lets you build very rich, web-based, data-driven applications incredibly fast. It's not even close. You can, run circles around the traditional, coders building data applications in Java or Python or whatever language you name. And so developers really like Oracle. They really like the standard SQL interface. But there's actually a new emerging standard out there that a lot of developers are very excited about called JSON. JSON is basically a data structure representation. Anybody who's ever programmed, written any code, they know what arrays are and list of values and all that kind of cool stuff. So JSON is a way of writing that. That was originally invented to be part of JavaScript. Developers really like it. And there's this company called MongoDB that sort of built a database just catering to that kind of use case. So we've added support for JSON in our SQL language that we think is really powerful because you get all the benefits of the Oracle backend plus all the benefits of SQL that developers love. However, Mongo has been really popular, and because it's not SQL standard, it has its own proprietary API, customers sort of get locked in. They build an application against Mongo, and then okay, now what? I don't have graph, I don't have spatial, I don't have massively parallel SQL analytics, no machine learning, nothing. Then what? Okay, so what we are trying to do, and we're going to give you a demo now, is how you can actually have your cake and eat it too. Let your developers have fun building their applications using popular Mongo APIs and client libraries and all that, but then have the database actually run inside Oracle. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Josh Spiegel, and he's going to show you how this works. Come on out, Josh.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm going to show how you can migrate a MongoDB application to run directly against Oracle database. So I'm going to take an export file from MongoDB, and I'm going to load it into an always free version of the autonomous database. And then I'm going to show how that loaded data can be accessed by SQL and MongoDB applications at the same time. So the basic idea is if you're a Mongo developer, you can develop your application against Oracle exactly the same way that you would develop it against MongoDB. So we can find the Mongo connect string for this database on the Database Actions tab. So this connection string allows you to connect any MongoDB tool or language driver directly to Oracle database. So to put it another way, it makes Oracle database look like MongoDB to applications and developers. So I'm going to use it to load some data. So I'm showing you now the contents of a line-delimited JSON file that's on my laptop. So each line in this file is a JSON object, and it represents one of the database sessions that we have at CloudWorld this week. So this is exactly the same format that you would get if you exported data out of MongoDB. So I could use an Oracle tool to load this into the database, but if I'm a Mongo developer, I'd probably prefer to use something that I'm already familiar with. So I'm going to use Mongo's import tool to load this. So I'm calling Mongo import, and I'm passing that connection string and the file name. And that just loaded those 200 sessions into the database. So let's go back to Database Actions and verify that that data was loaded. So I'm opening up the SQL page, and we can see that it has a table called Sessions. And if I select the column named Data from that table, we can see that it returned the 200 objects as rows in this table. So I'll come back to this in a minute, and I'll show you how SQL can actually access the values inside of these objects. But first, I want to show how this data can still be accessed as a collection by a Mongo developer. So I'm going to use the connection string again, but this time I'm going to connect using Mongo's shell. So this shell is an interactive line mode program. It's kind of like Oracle's SQL Plus or SQL CL. So now that I'm connected, I'm going to access these sessions again. So I'm calling find on the sessions collection. So calling find like this without an argument, it's like running a SQL query without a where clause. And so it starts to return all 200 of the sessions. And you can see these objects have the attributes you might expect, like the title and speaker and so on. So I'm going to call find again, but this time I'm going to use a filter expression. So the argument to find acts like a where clause. It filters the values I get back. So in this case, it's only returning objects that have the track equal to JSON application development. And so it returned the 4 sessions we have on JSON-related topics this week. And this first one is actually a hands-on lab about what I'm presenting right now. So that lab is actually Thursday morning at 9 a.m. It should be a good lab, so please join us for that. But it lists Roger Ford as the speaker, and unfortunately, he couldn't make it this week. So I need to update this document. So I'm going to update it to say that I'm the speaker instead. I'm going to call the update method. So it found that document by its unique ID, and it set the speaker to me, and it also added a note mentioning that I'm substituting for Roger. And so if I run and I read that document again, you can see now I'm the speaker. So using this API, Mongo developers can continue to use the same tools and language drivers that they're familiar with. But at the same time, they gain the ability to use SQL directly over their JSON. So let's go back to the SQL page. And this next query is going to project out some of these JSON attributes as relational columns. So it's projecting out the title, the speaker, the notes. So dotting into the JSON column like this lets us treat these JSON attributes as if they were relational columns. And then we can do things like use it in a group by clause or a join condition or an order by expression. We can create relational views over these attributes or even integrate it with data sources that might not even be JSON. So my last query here is going to do a group by. It's going to group these sessions together based on their type. So it did a group by on the type attribute, and it shows us how many of these sessions we have of each type. So I've barely scratched the surface of what's possible here, but we now provide this popular Mongo API and combine it with the power of SQL. So please do join us at 9 a.m. on Thursday to learn more about this. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so one thing Josh didn't show you is, he showed you hooking up a MongoDB application to our autonomous database. This is also all going to work on-prem, and we've actually got this working on-prem, I think, with 21C now, and we're testing out 19C as we speak. So this is not just for cloud, also on-prem. Okay, so we talked about what sort of customers like about Oracle. I'm going to do something somewhat unusual here. It's like, well, what does the customers find as painful about Oracle? Okay, so this is the stuff a lot of you who are operating Oracle databases, like I'm sure will agree with, right? Customers do not like applying patches, whether it's one-offs or quarterly updates, RUs. They don't like doing upgrades. And then after they apply the patch or the upgrade, they don't like the testing process. In fact, usually they don't have really good testing tools. And then the last thing is when they have problems, they have to work with customer support. They don't like working with support either. So what are we doing around these 4 pain points to make this much better experience for our customers? Okay, so one thing we're doing is, we have this notion of a quarterly update that we call a release update or an RU. We also have this thing called an RUR, release update revision. And I'm not going to go into what it is, but basically, RURs weren't very popular. The RUs are very popular, and so we're going to replace RURs with something else. And it's something we call the monthly recommended patches, or MRPs. For those of you in the know, there's this MOS note called 555.1. This is the Bible of, like, if there are critical issues in the product, you look at this note and it's like, hey, you should get a one-off patch for these issues. So what we've decided is, on top of the RUs, let's make it easy for all of you to apply these really critical one-offs by giving you a bundle that we're calling the MRP that has the latest RU and it has these recommended one-offs in it. And we're going to do it on a monthly basis for 6 months after the RU ships. And we're going to do this for every RU. And if you have one-offs beyond that that you want to do, we will, of course, make it easy for you to apply those as well. This is all starting with 1917, which is the new RU that's shipping this month. We are going to do this on the Linux platform only, but we'll see how this goes, and we think this will be a really nice way to make it easier for you to deal with patching. Okay. Another thing, we have this tool we've had for a few years now called Auto Upgrade. And people who use it are telling me, doing an upgrade is now really easy. We can move you from any release that we show on the left here, 11.2, all the way up to 19C, up to a newer release, up to, all the way up to 21C, and soon 23C. This tool makes it really easy. Customers can do multiple, database upgrades at once. Take a look at this Moss note that I've got on the screen here, if you're not familiar already with this tool. Testing. So, Oracle has this really cool technology called real application testing. I'm sure a few of you use this thing. It lets you do two different things. You can capture real production workloads and then replay them in a test environment to make sure your workload is going to run really well with good performance. We also have this thing called SQL Performance Analyzer that extracts just the SQL content and again looks at the performance of running those SQL statements under the new version of a software release and lets you know if there's some kind of regression you should worry about. So that's a really popular tool. However, it's also, when I talk to customers, they say, I hate that tool. It's like, what do you mean you hate it? It's so powerful. Well, it's sort of hard to use. It's sort of challenging to set up and run and configure. So one of the things we are doing is, as part of our cloud services, like Autonomous Database, we're just going to automate this whole process for you. You just okay, there's some new version for Autonomous Database. It's coming out in a couple weeks. Okay, you can just push a button, create a clone of your production database, also in Autonomous Database, and we will make it easy for you to capture workload from production and replay it and make sure everything's good in a test environment. So we're going to definitely do this as part of Autonomous Database service. We also are working on a generic service that will work with any source Oracle database, whether it's an Autonomous Database or Exadata database service or base database service. Okay. And then customer support experience. So this one is sort of interesting. What do customers complain about? In general, it's like, why does it take so long to resolve my SR? But underlying that, one of the big issues is this whole notion of pings. Support says, okay, that's an interesting problem. Give me information X. Give me an AWR. Give me, a trace file, whatever it is. And then you give it to us, and then they come back and say, well, okay, it's not enough. I need another thing. And then there's another thing. Okay, customers hate this. And so what we've been investing in development is a tool called TFA, Trace File Analyzer. What it does is it just makes it really easy for you. Instead of getting items, trace files, AWRs one by one, it just bundles everything up for us that we possibly will need, and you can just give us the TFA collection as part of your SR, and we're generally just done then. There won't be any of this ping-ponging back and forth anymore. So we're really encouraging people to go do that. And the other area we're working a lot with our support organization is dealing with what we call non-bugged SRs. These are just a customer files an SR, but it turns out it's just some information they didn't understand in the doc, or there was some error message that was confusing, things of that sort. And so one of the things we're doing is support is working with development to prioritize making sure if there's some error message that's unclear, fix it. If there's some documentation that's not clear, let's fix that. So we're working really hard to try to get rid of these unbugged SRs. Okay. And so the big thing we are asking you to do is okay, when you file an SR, just give us the TFA, attach it to the SR. We're actually going to try to make it even easier to do that. Today, we're only getting about 25% of bugged SRs having these TFA collections attached to it. That's a big improvement from where we were a few years ago, but if you want fast response. Just give us what we need up front. And yeah, it may be more than we need, but yeah, avoid the ping-ponging and all that experience people don't like. Of course, we encourage you to stay on the most recent RUs. And now with our MRP process, we are going to make it easy for you to apply these critical one-offs that are in this MOS note 5551. And at the end of the day, if you follow this advice, we think your experience with customer support will be much, much better than it is today. Your SRs will get resolved faster. There will be fewer of these unresolved SRs, which usually are because we just don't have enough information to diagnose the problem. If you would give us the TFA in the first place, it's more likely we'll be able to diagnose things. Okay. And then one thing I just wanted to call out is all these pain points are actually things that are basically automated with Autonomous Database. Every single one of them. We do all the patching for you. We do all the upgrading for you. We're automating the testing process for you. And so if you want the best experience with an Oracle database, just go straight to Autonomous. It's like, there's no question about it. The reliability of Autonomous, because of this, is far superior than our other database services because customers just have a better experience and all the best practices are implemented for you, et cetera. We have really good uptime metrics that we actually are publishing now on Oracle.com. With Autonomous Data Guard, we can do 4.5 nines, which is quite impressive. And as I mentioned, we're automating the testing process there with real application testing. And we have a feature I'll mention that's coming out in 23C. You all know SQL Plan Management. Well, SQL Plan Management is one way to help you avoid regressions and optimizer plan selections. It's going to be even better. With 23C, we're coming out with something we call real-time SQL Plan Management. And we think this will be the key feature that will once and for all stop you from having to worry about plan regressions when you do upgrades of your database servers. Okay, so what's coming next? Okay, so the big thing is 23C. Okay, so 19C was our last long-term support release. A lot of you are still in the process of moving to 19C. We understand that. But in development, we've been working on a new long-term support release called 23C. We just went into beta this week. On the screen here, you can see an email. So if any of you are interested in the beta program, just send us an email. And on the next couple slides, I'll actually talk to you about some of the key features in 23C. Okay, so 23C, of course, is the accumulation of not just 23C new stuff, but also 21C. 21C is an innovation release, we called it. We told you we're only going to support it for a couple years. Basically, a year after 23C comes out, we'll de-support 21C. So because of that, most of the customers are not adopting this release. However, it was a really nice milestone for us in development because it enabled us to actually take some of those features in 21C and actually move them, backported some of them to 19C for you. 23C adds another 300 plus new features and enhancements on top of 21C. So what was 21C? Just to remind you, here's a couple of the interesting features there we introduced. I'm not going to describe all of them, but some pretty cool stuff. Blockchain tables, JavaScript in the database for anonymous blocks only, some new ML algorithms. The performance of our JSON in the database was much, much enhanced in 21C, and we actually did backport some of that to 19C, especially Autonomous JSON Database Service, and a few other features which I'm not going to go into. And then 23C, what's there? So as I mentioned earlier, we're really trying to have a major focus on making the lives of our developers and our analysts easier. So in 23C, the first three kind of features are sort of examples of what we've been doing to make our developers more productive. Number one, in the JSON space, we just showed you our Mongo API for JSON. Well, what we're trying to do in 23C is give you something that lets you have the best of both worlds. You can design your classic relational schema for your application, but if you want to have JSON developers consume that easily, we make it easy now in 23C via this feature we call JSON relational duality to create essentially a JSON object view of your relational schema. And then you can just give that to your JSON developers. They can use the Mongo API or they can use SQL JSON or both and build their applications. So we are the first database we know of that actually is trying to address this impedance mismatch between SQL and JSON with this feature. Operational property graphs, we've been focusing on property graph analytics in prior releases. In 23C, we now have added this industry standard SQL extension that we worked on in the standards world with Neo4j actually. And now you can use that to do real-time in your OLTP system graph analytics to do things like fraud detection, customer social network detection, things of that sort. So that's really exciting. Again, first, no other database can do this. Everybody else was just doing some analytics in a separate warehouse kind of environment. And then finally, the last area of innovation for developers that I wanted to mention was around microservices. The developers are very enamored of using microservices for building out applications. In the database in 23C, we are doing a lot of work to make microservices much more easy to develop and powerful in the Oracle database. And I'm not going to go into details here, but there's a lot of detail. We have this notion of a long transaction we call a saga. So for example, if you're like reserving airline tickets and reserving a car and renting a hotel room, and at the end it's like, I don't want to do this, you cancel it. Well, what's happened now is you've had maybe three separate transactions, one for the airline, one for the car, and one for the hotel. And now you have to undo them. Well, you can't just say rollback because it was three separate transactions, perhaps, in a microservices world. And what we've done in 23C with Saga is that we make it actually easy to now issue. If you say, well, cancel the Saga, we will basically do compensating transactions to put back your rental car and put back the hotel room into the inventory and put back your seats in the airline, et cetera. So it's really cool stuff, new in 23C. We also have built into the database transactional event queues, and we have now put a Kafka API on top of that, so developers who love using Kafka for event processing can do that now using events right in the database. And with that, I'll let you all sort of go look at this next screen. The first session here, Jenny Tsai is going to go into real deep depth on all these 23C new features. You should definitely go to that session today at 5:15 p.m. And then we have some other interesting sessions as well you should take a look at. So take a picture of that screen. And then finally, just to summarize what we talked about, we talked about our Converged database technology and how developers can use this to build applications with really high productivity. We talked about autonomous database and how you can run that in our cloud, on-prem, and now multi-cloud with Azure and other clouds in the future. And we gave you a little sneak peek at 23C. Definitely check out more details from Jenny's presentation and other sessions we have this week. And with that, thanks a lot, and hopefully see you next year.